There's a lot of wildlife in Florida that are harmful towards your dog or cat, and that goes without saying when you point out the alligators and the invasive python problem we're having. Large birds can even swoop down and snatch a small dog or cat and carry them away as if they instantly disappeared from existence, which it doesn't happen often, but it does happen. But there's another invasive animal species that has lived in Florida for some time, which people may not be aware of, and that is the cane toad. So, new to Florida, these invasive creatures can harm dogs and cats, and how you can keep your pets safe. This is from bluewaterhealthyliving.com. So, real quick, before I start on the article, they do point out this image. So, there's the native southern toad, which, of course, as the name suggests, it is native to Florida, and it has oval glands, whereas the invasive cane toad has large triangular glands here, as well as the cane toad not having any crests on the top of its head, whereas the native southern toad does have these two crests, or what looks like horns, I guess. But also, I would say that the pattern is distinctly different, where you see like dark gray spots on the native southern toad, whereas on the invasive cane toad, it's more smooth in its appearance, not really many patterns or anything on the top of its head, at least. I mean, the backs do look similar, but anyway, I'll just go ahead and get into the article here. So you're probably aware that Florida has battled invasive species for decades, from Burmese pythons and tegus and green iguanas to rhesus macaque monkeys and lionfish. Non-native species pose a significant problem for the Sunshine State. One of the most invasive creatures squatting in Florida is difficult to distinguish from its native cousin. The poisonous, competitive, and rapidly reproduces, which is the invasive toxic cane toad, also known as the bufo toad, or the marine toad and giant toad. Cane toads, they secrete a milky white toxin from the glands behind their eyes called bufotoxin, and can harm or even kill animals that lick, bite, or eat them, including your domestic pets. Cane toad eggs also contain bufotoxin and can sicken or kill animals that consume them. And additionally, bufotoxin can irritate the skin and burn the eyes of people who handle cane toads. So you got to watch out, even if you pick them up and you move them somewhere else or you handle them in any way. Don't touch your face. So here's what to know about cane toads and how to keep yourself and your pets safe. How did they get to Florida? Well, according to Florida Fish and Wildlife, the cane toads were first introduced into Florida to control agricultural pests in sugarcane back in the 1930s and the 1940s. It is believed that current populations are the result of escapes and releases by importers back in the 1950s and 60s. So, cane toads are currently found in central and in southern Florida, generally south of the I-4 corridor. And for those of you who are not too familiar with the infrastructure of Florida, the I-4 corridor runs from Tampa to Orlando. So, anything south of the I-4 corridor, cane toads are a lot more prevalent there than they might be north of it. I'm assuming probably because that's roughly where the frost line is. Cane toads, I'm sure, probably can't survive cold winters, which would explain why they're in central and southern Florida, because the frost line is more or less around where the I-4 corridor is, meaning that in the month of January and February, when we have extra cold mornings, which by extra cold, I mean in the mid 30s, or in really cold cases in the upper 20s, then frost will settle in for a few hours in the morning, and that can be a major problem in this area, especially when it comes to tropical plants and things like that. But anyway, so, are cane toads still a problem in Florida? Yes. Cane toads compete with native species for food sources and alter the ecosystem by preying on native frogs and lizards and snakes and small mammals and just about anything else that fits into their mouths. Cane toads are commonly found in yards and around buildings, near canals and ponds, and they also breed year-round in standing water as well as in streams, canals, and ditches. So pretty much anywhere where there's water, which is pretty much literally all over the place. I mean, there's bodies of water, retention ponds, natural bodies of water, ponds, and creeks, and yeah, everywhere. Probably except saltwater, but that probably could go without saying. Anyway, according to the University of Florida, as of 2017, cane toads were established in much of Florida's southern peninsula, as far north as Tampa, with several isolated sightings in northern Florida. Cane toad versus native southern toad. How can you tell the difference? Well, we already saw the image above, so they might go into more explanation as far as that goes. But cane toads generally range from 6 to 9 inches in length, so they're big. With few exceptions, a toad in Florida that is larger than 4 inches is almost certainly an invasive cane toad, according to the University of Florida. So there you go. If you find a large toad in your yard, probably a cane toad. Anyway, the native southern toad is most likely going to be mistaken for a cane toad. According to the University of Florida's Wildlife Johnson Lab, the cane toad's body is tan to reddish brown or dark brown or gray with warty skin and back marked with dark spots. Large triangular parotid glands are prominent on the shoulders, and parotid glands of native true toads are oval. Unlike native southern toads, cane toads don't have ridges or crests on top of their heads. So, what if my dog or cat licks or bites or eats a cane toad? Well, if your pet ends up biting or swallowing a cane toad, they can get sick and die in as little as 15 minutes if they're left untreated. So even if you notice them eating a cane toad, and God forbid if they do eat one and you don't see it, you got a very short window of time to rush them to the animal hospital. So, I mean, it's always a good idea to know where your closest 24-hour animal hospital is located from where you live. I mean, no matter what the risk might be, you just never know. Symptoms include frantic or disoriented behavior, brick red gums, seizures, and foaming at the mouth. And the best treatment is prevention. So I guess just keep an eye on your pets. Don't let them, run wild in the backyard. I know it's a lot easier said than done for many animals. I mean, even with cats, there's a lot of cats, they're just, they're just outdoor cats by heart, and it's almost impossible to keep them in. I get it. The same goes with dogs. Even with the well-fenced-in area, cane toads can still find their way into your backyard somehow, which, I mean, it's awful. It sucks. It's risky, but, that's just part of the risk you take with living in Florida. I mean, it's just one of the things that unfortunately happens sometimes here. Anyway, cane toads are often found in yards during rainy, warm days, which is, I wouldn't call it the majority of the year. Warm days, yeah, it's absolutely year-round. Rainy days, we get our rainy season from June 1st up through October 30th. Or no, I'm sorry, September 30th. Yeah, again, June 1st through September 30th. That's where the bulk of our rainy season occurs. But we will get rain year-round. It's just way less common than it is during those 4 months during summertime. So definitely want to be on the lookout for cane toads if you live in the area. Or if you're even coming here to vacation and you might stay in like an Airbnb or something with a backyard, front yard, especially if there's fresh water nearby. You really want to be on the lookout. I mean, not to say that you should spend your entire weekend or vacation just doing recon in the front and backyard looking for cane toads. I mean, they're not extremely high numbered. You're not going to see them every which way you turn. They are very common. They're just not, in every single backyard across the entire state, if you know what I mean. Well, south of the I-4 corridor at least. But anyway, you can help prevent encounters with pets by removing cane toad attractants and places where they might hide. Install no-gap fencing and remove as many sources of standing water as possible to help keep them out. Very good idea. Not only that, but you're not supposed to be having anything containing standing water anywhere on your property already, and in some places they've got ordinances against that for mosquito breeding, because we have, obviously being Florida, we have a mosquito problem here year-round, and you should never have standing water anywhere in your property, whether if it's buckets or anything. If you have like a koi pond or something like that, there should always be moving water. It should always have like a fountain or maybe like a bubble aerator or something like that. Like you always have to try to keep the water moving just to minimize the ability for mosquitoes to take advantage of that standing water. But during the rainy season, you'll always got to keep your buckets upside down. Make sure there's no water that pools up anywhere on the property, because not only mosquitoes, but cane toads. You'll be able to keep those away. It's not a guarantee, but it'll certainly help. It's better than not doing that. So how to get rid of cane toads in the state in general? Well, to safely remove cane toads that have been properly identified, Fish and Wildlife recommends wearing eye and skin protection and wearing latex, rubber, or nitrile gloves if handling. Captured cane toads may not be relocated and released. Cane toads are not protected in Florida except by anti-cruelty law and can be removed from private property and humanely killed year-round with landowner permission. To humanely euthanize a cane toad, generously apply benzocaine or lidocaine ointment or spray, which you can find in drugstores, grocery stores, to the toad's back or belly and then freeze it overnight. That is very humane. Which, by the way, benzocaine, lidocaine, not really the cheapest thing that you can find. I don't know about these days, but I can at least say a few years ago, Dollar Tree or the dollar stores, they used to sell benzocaine, lidocaine. You used to be able to get it there for $1. Not so sure if that's the case anymore. I'm just putting that out there. Yeah, and then freeze it overnight, and then that's what they consider to be humane. You probably don't want to stomp on them, create a mess. I wouldn't do any of that. Plus, if you do something like that, or you smack it with something like a 2x4 or something, you're just going to leave the guts out there for other animals to scavenge, and it's got those toxins in it that are probably not going to be good for any of the other wildlife around either. I'm sure birds are probably not going to take too well to cane toads, but I don't know. They didn't mention that, so I'm just saying probably should go the humane route, get some bit of benzocaine or lidocaine, and just stick them in the freezer, and then that'll be the best way to humanely put them out of commission. And then you can just toss them in the trash while they're still frozen. Anyway, those needing assistance removing cane toads from their property can hire a wildlife trapper for probably an exorbitantly amount of money. I'm sure it's not going to be cheap to do that, but hey, they got to make a living, man. If you don't want to take those matters into your own hands, if you hate frogs, if you're scared of them, or if you don't want to run the risk of getting their toxins on you, yeah, absolutely. They have lots of wildlife trappers out there, especially in Florida. They're out to make a living. They'll come by your house. They'll set up traps. They'll take care of all the problems for you, and you won't even have to bat an eye. All you got to do is just write them a check or swipe a credit card, and they take care of everything else. Problem solved. So anyway, just to wrap this up, it says this article originally appeared on Fort Myers News Press. New to Florida, these invasive creatures can harm dogs and cats. How to keep pets safe. So it was reported by Kim Luciani from the USA Today Network. And it's been copy-pasted all over the internet, including on bluewaterhealthyliving.com. So yeah, I came across that. I thought that was interesting. I mean, yes, I've heard of cane toads before. I've been in Florida for 2 decades at this point. And I've got cats, even though they never go outside. They're indoors, so I don't really worry too much about cane toads. At least personally, I don't. But yeah, there's a lot of dogs that are out in the backyard. A lot of pets are out and about. So it's definitely something for other people to be worried about if you live south of the I-4 corridor. And just be on the lookout and just know that they're out there. So anyway, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you later.